Hello, fellow Hex Maniacs. This is Chad,
I'm Dion.
and this is Hex Weekly.
So welcome everyone. This week we're going to be talking about some competitive gameplay types, GenCon, and of course, Cards of the Week. Chad, you want to get us started off on competitive play?
Just like most other TCG card games, Hex will have a large variety of different events to participate in. These include things such as the old school constructed, booster draft, competitive, as well as world championships.
Now the first ones we talk about, constructed, booster, competitive, draft, casual draft, and Swiss play draft. Those are all going to be instant queue. You just log into the game, you click the queue, and you get put into these tournaments. However, there's going to be scheduled events to include daily tournaments, weekly, and monthly tournaments that you can enter in, which will help you out getting to the World Championship Qualifier and, of course, the World Championships.
Now, every event in Hex is going to offer points to get closer to the World Qualifiers, but the actual scheduled events, those are actually going to give you more points, so it'll be a lot easier to get in through those events. But the other events, those can be played more in your spare time and hopefully grant you the extra points that you need to get in.
Right, and as you said, scheduled events are going to give you more points. However, these events are also probably going to be significantly more difficult due to the mass numbers playing them. Now, what we're always looking for in these tournaments, at least I know I am, is a way to improve your rank and give yourself a shot at the World Champions.
The great thing that we've seen so far is that it's almost going to be open for everyone. I mean, it doesn't sound like 10 points is going to be incredibly hard to get at this point. I think that you should be able to rack up 10 points in a month if you're playing tournaments pretty consistently. What's your feelings on that, Dion?
I don't feel like it'd be a hard thing to do at all, granted you're good at the game, to rack up 10 points, because these qualifiers for the World Championship are going to happen every 4 months, which is way more than enough time to qualify.
The great thing about draft is you'll be able to increase your skill, you'll be able to gain more cards, and hopefully build that really great constructed deck for Worlds.
Something interesting to note here, you have competitive draft and casual draft. The difference is, with competitive draft, the prizes are split between the top 2 players, as where casual draft is split across the top 4.
Competitive draft is going to be really risky compared to casual draft, but the prizes that you're going to get from this are just going to be insane.
Alright, now we have a new method of draft coming in that most of us probably haven't even heard of or thought of, and it's called Swiss play draft. Swiss draft is essentially you play continuously, even if you lose. And what happens at the end of the game is anybody who has at least one win gets a prize. It's a very forgiving, easygoing, not too competitive, kind of fun way to play.
You're probably going to find me and Dion playing Swiss draft on Saturday nights after we've kicked back about 5 beers. We both love playing competitive, but I mean, everyone has to admit that some days you're just not feeling it, and this might be a great way to still stay competitive and have a great time with your buddies.
Now, to hit on the World Championship Qualifier a little bit further. First of all, this is going to be a once every 4-month tournament that's held, and, well, Chad, walk us through the requirements.
Sure thing. To be entered into the World Championship Qualifiers, you're going to have to rack up a total of 10 points within 4 months. The important thing to note about these qualifiers is that after you've competed in the tournament, you're going to lose all of the points that you've accumulated.
What this is going to mean to us is you can play your games until you get to 10 points. After there, it's kind of on you if you want to keep playing these tournaments.
Exactly. After you accumulate your 10 points, I mean, at least for me, it's going to be a little hard to keep playing competitive tournaments to try to get points, because I am a little bit cautious about my money.
Now here's the great thing. After you hit your 10 points, we got some other tournaments that are really, really fun looking. The first one is marathon tournaments, which I think is a really fun idea. It's basically you have a whole day to do absolutely nothing, so why not just hex it up? Now what's going to happen in a marathon tournament is we're all going to play at the same time, and it's going to be a sealed deck tournament where you play as many as we can in 6 hours. Now, They're going to allow entries from the start time of the tournament to any time. And a catch-up mechanic that they're going to add is that they're going to let players buy additional boosters after each hour passes while the tournament runs.
This catch-up mechanic, I think, is really going to make it interesting because you could pull some really crazy stuff from your booster packs that are just going to totally change your deck, and who knows, it might actually allow you to catch back up.
Right, so the first hour, everybody's deck is essentially going to look the same. I mean, you're probably going to have like 4 different options at first. Everyone's going to know what they're playing against, and as soon as a few hours pass, it's going to get crazy really fast.
An interesting dynamic that me and Dion have been chatting about for the marathon tournaments would be maybe a 15-minute window, or maybe even less, after each hour where players are allowed to trade cards. Let's say there's a really expensive card that somebody has. They might actually be willing to trade that card during this tournament for a lot less just to boost their marathon deck.
Because by the sounds of it, these prizes may be incredible. It says there's going to be 4 tiers of prizes: the top 1%, the top 2 to 5%, top 6 to 15, and the 16 through 40. So I'm expecting some awesome prizes for the top 1% and some really good ones for the 2 to 5. Now, of course, there's going to be other fun tournaments. There's going to be 2v2 and 3v3 that they're going to add eventually. Haven't announced much about it yet, unfortunately. And also they're just looking for more constructed formats such as Highlander and all those fun ones that we played before.
And before we wrap up the types of tournament play, let's end with pre-release, which is a great way to experience a new set a few days or even a week before the set comes out.
This is incredibly fun, and I have some awesome cards that I got from Magic the Gathering pre-releases. Alternate art, holographics, just really cool stuff, and it's such a fun and relaxed environment to play in these tournaments.
These tournaments are great because they allow you to sit down with players and really experience new cards before they come out and really get that wow factor of seeing something just really cool.
Alright, so that's going to wrap up our tournament talk. And just for a few minutes, we're going to talk to you about GenCon.
Alright guys, in last week's update, we heard that Hex was actually going to GenCon this year in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Personally, I'm really jealous. I'm out here in Germany. I'm not going to be able to make it, but I know it's going to be awesome. Everybody's going to get a free chance to play Hex before it ever releases. You're going to see all these cool cards that nobody else gets to see. You're going to get wristbands. You're going to get prizes. In-game prizes, for that matter. Chad, you want to walk us through something they've already announced?
By winning events at the convention, you'll actually be able to gain tickets, and they will be redeemable for in-game prizes. So far they've shown us the new Cosmic Elder card art. It looks pretty incredible. You will also be able to get your hands on a Mercenary. He hasn't actually been stated yet. 1 free starter deck, and some really cool sleeves.
Right, and obviously not all the prizes have been announced yet, so...
Well, I know that Dion's not going to be able to make it, but since I live only 4 hours away, there is a pretty good chance I can go. So, if you see me there, I'll probably be wearing a Hex Weekly t-shirt, so hit me up and I might have a few prizes for people.
Alright, I'm sure this part needs no introduction anymore, but just in case, time for Cards of the Week.
Alright guys, on this week's Cards of the Week, we chose to cover Comet Strike and Unmerciful Tormentor. These cards might sound familiar because they were part of the weekly update from the Hex team. We chose to cover them because they're new and people haven't seen them that much.
Right, and not to mention, we still have a pretty limited pool of cards to choose from for Cards of the Week. So we figured, why not just do these two?
Alright, Dion, because Comet Strike might be a little hard to just jump into, you want to start off with Unmerciful Tormentor? And we can both kind of cover Comet Strike?
Alright, so Unmerciful Tormentor, he's a little more straightforward than your Comet. He's a 1 cost, 1 ruby threshold, troop orc warlock. And his ability states, while you have no cards in your hand, this troop gets +3 attack, +3 defense, while already being a 1/1. Now, this card is going to be incredibly strong in your mono red orc rush decks, where playing out your entire hand really isn't a problem before turn 4. This is essentially going to turn into a 4/4 at the cost of 1 in just about any orc deck.
Another type of deck I could see Unmerciful Tormentor playing in would be uh, any deck that really splashes red. I mean, a 4/4 for one, he could be a real savior if you run out of cards in your hand.
Something to note, however, his synergy will not work well with the common red Inspire. Because his cost is only 1, there's hardly any cards that'll affect him. So, Unmerciful Tormentor is a pretty straight shooter. He's a 1/1 for 1, makes him instantly worth his cost right there. His ability, pretty darn strong, not the greatest I've ever seen. I'd probably give him a positive 1.
Exactly. This guy has a lot of damage potential, but your major problem is as soon as a card enters your hand, he's back to a 1/1, and that's pretty easy to take out for most any decks.
Alright, time to move on to the more extreme Comet Strike. Chad, you want to introduce us to this one?
Sure thing, Dion. Comic Strike is a basic action. It has a cost of 10. It's colorless, so it can be played in any deck. Its text states that avoid all cards in play, and from each champion's graveyard and hand. Each champion loses all charges. Each champion gains plus 10 threshold of each color.
Now let's start off right away by saying we don't know when you would truly use this card. There's some decks that would work better in than others that I could foresee happening. Overall, I personally feel this card's horrible.
Yeah, it's honestly probably the most trolliest card we've ever seen in the game so far. I would have to say the only redeeming feature of this card would have to be the equipments. This to me screams PvE insanity.
I completely agree. That's the only place I think we're truly going to see this card played often is in the PvE just because of its equipment. And just a quick walkthrough on that. The first equipment is a weapon called Armageddon. It says there's a 25% chance to deal 1,000 damage to each opposing champion. Really trolly, once again, fun, not guaranteed. Basically a last-ditch effort to try to kill him.
Exactly. We might see in PvE some strange combos running this to try to clear insanely hard raid bosses. I mean, oh, we wiped, but maybe next time there's a chance that we can play this card for. I mean, it has a pretty good chance of being cast and deal 1,000 damage to each champion.
Right, and in PvE, I'm not sure what exactly we're looking at here, but we could see some raids that last for a lot of turns, to be honest. So this might be actually somewhat viable. The other item, however, is Whispers of Doom, which I think is a very fun equipment. It's a trinket. It says you may reveal this action from your opening hand. If you do, its cost becomes 0. Shuffle into your deck and draw a card.
One of the things that I would just love to see with this card is maybe in an open format where, somebody's deadlocked, they're about to lose the entire game, and somehow they pull this card and Armageddon's pulled off, and their opponent just rage quits. I mean, I'd love to see that. That'd be a fantastic video to put on YouTube.
Completely agree. But as far as competitive constructive play, the card costs 10 to play. Its ability is not all that great. You're playing off of complete luck at that point, and I would probably go as steep to give it a -4 or -5.
As far as constructed goes, I completely agree with you. Probably the most fun card I think we've covered so far. It's a really cool card. It's kind of like the luxury car of cards. I mean, it's great to look at and it's really fun to like think up decks around it, but it's never really going to see competitive play. All right, this week's winner is Brandon Case. Just hit us up on Facebook, or we'll find you when the game comes out to get your free pack. And you will have a fantastic suit on, sir. Fantastic suit.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. It's been a great time. This is Dion.
This is Chad.
And thanks for watching Hex Weekly.